with your new friend Ty.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Tea Party Podcast. It's a podcast where you find new friends and new music. And this week, I am joined by a Colorado native who spent some time in the Marine Corps before trading in his gun for a guitar and heading off to the Music City. You'll have a chance to see him Sunday night at Farm Jam as the lead singer and semi-namesake of the Scooter Brown Band. Let's welcome to the show, Scott, or as you probably know him better, Scooter Brown. Scott, man, how are you?
Oh, man, just trying to live the dream.
There you go, man. I love it.
Yeah, usually it's living the dream, but these days it's more like trying.
I definitely feel that. And we'll tee off with Scott next.
It's time to tee off with Ty and today's guest, Scooter Brown. Here comes the first four.
Okay, here we go, Scott. Question number one. If you couldn't be in the entertainment industry, what job would you have?
Oh, man. There's so many, I think. I should have this on the spot. Actually, I don't even know if I could actually tell you what I really want to do. What I'd actually really want to do is like do some gray man stuff and like go like hunt bad people. Okay.
I like it.
like child abusers and those kind of people. That's my dream job.
Make the world a little bit better of a place.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay, how about this one? If I give you control of music at a party, what's the first song you're going to play for everybody?
Probably Waylon Jennings. I'd probably start off with some Waylon Jennings or some Charlie Daniels. Something along those lines.
That'll get the party started, though. Okay, how about this one? What character from a TV show or a movie would you bring to life and hang out with for a day?
Oh, man, these are good questions, man. I've been getting all these questions lately that I don't ever get. Either that or I just haven't done this in a while. Geez, I don't know. It's funny because I don't really watch a whole lot of TV or movies. I don't know. That'd be something cool. I feel like I'm horrible at this game right now.
No, it's all good, man.
I don't know, a superhero of some sort.
Okay. I feel like hanging out with a superhero for a day has got to have its perks. Even if you don't have the superpowers, just like having a buddy that does have the superpowers seems like it's got its benefits.
Yeah, like, hey, dude, why don't you go ahead and take this guy out for me over here? I'm not a fan.
There you go. If ever the music thing doesn't work out and you end up hunting down bad guys, just find yourself a superhero. He'll keep you safe.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, this one I feel like should be a little bit easier to answer. So last question of the first four. If you could have an unlimited supply of anything other than money, whiskey, tacos, guitar strings, scotch tape, whatever, what would it be?
Breath.
Okay. Any particular reason?
Man, I just love life. I like it. I love waking up in the morning and just being like, this is awesome. Thank you for waking up. I love it.
Awesome, man. Well, that was the first four. Thanks for playing along with us. But now let's pull back the curtain a little bit and give everybody a chance to get to know who Scott Brown is. Give us kind of the Cliff Notes version of growing up and tell us how you got into music.
I was actually, I don't admit this to very, very often, but I was actually born in Nebraska. And but I wasn't there for very long. My dad worked at the Henry Dorley Zoo in Omaha and worked with the elephants and the orangutans. And he said to this day that was the best job he's ever had. He just didn't make any money doing it. So he ended up rolling out. We kind of state hopped a little bit and landed in Colorado, where I grew up. And I grew up just outside west of Denver in the Littleton and Golden area, right where the foothills start on the plains. And I love growing up out there. I love the outdoors. Spent every moment I could up in the mountains, and eventually got on the high school rodeo team and was traveling around doing some rodeos. I wasn't great at it. Did bulls and tried my hand at bareback horses for a little while. And but always knew that I was going to join the Marine Corps in some form or fashion. I was going to join the military. So yeah, I just went from as soon as I turned 18, pretty much, I joined the Marine Corps.
So what was it about the Marine Corps specifically, out of all the branches of the military? What was it about the Marine Corps that drew you in there?
Actually, that's a funny story, because I actually went to go join the Army at first. I watched too many movies about Rangers and Green Berets, which those guys are awesome. But I went down to the recruiting station, and I had this appointment with this, it was a sergeant or a staff sergeant. And I get there and he meets me at the door, and he kind of had forgotten that I was coming. And so he was like, "Hey dude, sorry, take a seat for a little bit out on the curb. I'll be back in like 15 minutes. And when this guy came out, he wasn't the poster child soldier. Had a little bit of had a beer gut and smoking a cigarette, and his uniform didn't look great. And
kind of killed that illusion right away.
Yeah. And it was just kind of like, and then he just kind of blew me off. And I was like, I mean, okay, all right, man, whatever. And so I'm sitting on the curb, and this guy walks up behind me, this Marine, Staff Sergeant Gonzalez. And I look over at him. He said, "Hey man, what are you doing?" I told him, I said, "Hey, well, I'm waiting for the Army recruiter." And he literally looked at me right in the eye, and he goes, "You want to look like that turd, or you want to look like this?" And this dude this Marine was jacked, perfect uniform, like just like the poster child Marine, right? And I looked at him, I said, "I want to look like that." And he goes, "Step into my office." And I signed up for the Marine Corps before that recruiter ever got back from the Army.
Well, there you go. I mean, not a tough choice when you go in expecting something like that, and he comes out looking quite the opposite, and the Marine guy comes out looking like what you're looking for.
Yeah, and he was just, obviously took care of himself. And I've looked into the Marine Corps, but I guess I just didn't know a lot of guys that went to the Marine Corps, and there's not a whole lot of military service in my family. So I didn't know a ton about the Marine Corps. I was always looking at, the Army and the Rangers and all the SF stuff. So that's kind of why I just leaned towards it. I knew other guys that had joined the Army, and but I'm glad. I love the brotherhood and the family and community of being a Marine, because we never stop being Marines. We're Marines till the day we die. So it's pretty awesome. I love serving.
And that's something that I've noticed about Marines more so than some of the other branches, is that once you're a Marine forever. I mean, if you're a sailor, of course, you're always a sailor, you're always a soldier, but there's something about Marines that really kind of brings out this brotherhood in everybody.
Yeah. The Marine Corps is such a small community to begin with. It's the smallest branch, I believe, in the armed forces. I don't think they usually ever keep more than, I think, 200 or 250,000 Marines, unless it's probably during wartime, which is pretty small compared to the other services. So, and it's just, it's the boot camp is longer. It's just known as a tougher thing. And we get the crappy hand-me-down equipment from the Army, and we just suffer a little bit more. And I think that in suffering, that brotherhood and camaraderie kind of strengthens.
Well, and I mentioned it off the top. One of the things that you're going to be doing this year is coming up to Colville on Labor Day weekend and playing Farm Jam, which has a connection with a pretty good veterans nonprofit up here called Greater Veterans. And I think their founder, CEO, Nick Richardson.
Yeah.
So how did you guys get connected?
Just on social media. And I was actually playing a show out in Idaho, I think in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And he had come out, and it was just a little acoustic show at the casino out there. And we just started chatting, and I was like, "Hey man, if I can ever help out with anything," because I'm always about trying to help other veterans and organizations try to help fellow veterans. So I think that's kind of part of my mission, as my role of being in music and having a platform is to bring attention to veteran issues. So yeah, and so Farm Jam came up, and we had just that trip that we were on, that was our first time really playing in the Idaho, Washington, Oregon area. And I just loved the area out there. I was like, man, anything to get us to come back, we'd love to come back. So when we got the call on this, I was pretty excited about being able to come back up to that part of the country, because it's just beautiful country up there.
Yeah, if you're a fan of the mountains and everything in Colorado, the outdoor life, this is definitely a place that I can imagine you enjoying up here. I mean, we've got all that stuff as well.
Yeah, I was really so Oregon and Washington and Alaska during that trip were my last 3 states to make all 50. And when we first got into Washington, it kind of caught me off guard, because you think of an outsider, it's kind of like when you think of New York State, you just think of New York City, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the same with Washington for a lot of people, is I think that they just kind of picture Seattle. And when we crossed the border from Idaho, it was like, whoa, this is totally different than what I thought. But then it just gradually changed every hour. Like, it was so much different terrain and scenic views, and between the rolling farmland and the canyons and kind of desertish area, and then getting into the mountains and the rainforest stuff going across the state, I was like, man, this is beautiful. I'm an outdoor nerd. I love being outside. I love the mountains especially, but I love being just in nature and just seeing something new. I think it's beautiful up there.
Well, you're going to have to move up here to Spokane, because you can drive an hour in any direction and be in somewhere completely new. Just like you're saying, we've got a waterfall 90 minutes away. We've got desert 20 minutes away. You can be in the mountains in 20 minutes. The rainforest, like a real life rainforest on the other side of the state. It's pretty intense up here.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Very cool.
But we got a chance to meet in Nashville last month before a benefit for pediatric brain cancer research. And it was one of those things where at the event, I mean, you just took the stage, you played a couple of songs, you and a fiddle player, and you guys were the absolute talk of the show. What is it? Obviously it takes a lot as an artist to be self-aware enough to know that you have this platform and you want to give back. But is there any other reason that you're out there trying to do good other than using your platform? I mean, is it something that when you started out as an artist, you thought, if I get this platform, this is something that I want to do, or is it something that just kind of came along the way?
I think it's kind of just came along the way. Everything that I've done has almost been on accident anyway. Like in my life, it just kind of found me, or vice versa. But I just like to be able to help out where I can. Obviously you get hit up for a lot of things and you can't do everything. This is our job. This is our living. This is how we pay our bills. So, you get a lot of people asking you to do stuff for charities, and I wish I could do it all. But I just like helping, especially if it has anything to do with veterans or kids. Those are just 2 passions of mine. I've got 2 adopted kids and 2 biological kids. So I think some of it stems too is just, I was in the invasion of Iraq in 2003, and I was involved in a lot of the taking of life and destruction. And I think that in my life now is what I want to focus on is the positivity of life and appreciating life and trying to be as good of a human being as I possibly can. because it's just where I'm at in my world, you know?
Definitely. And that makes a lot of sense. And let's turn it to a positive note. We've got Farm Jam coming up. I had a chance, like I said, to see you and a fiddle player out in Nashville, just play a couple of songs. But what can everybody expect when the Scooter Brown Band hits the stage at Farm Jam?
A rock band with a country problem.
I love it.
So the fiddle player that was with me, his name's Donnie Reese, and he's actually a combat veteran, Army. He was served in Iraq as well, and he's a producer in Nashville, has his own studio. But he was actually he had a full-ride scholarship, I believe, at one of the pristine colleges for music. And when 9/11 happened, he gave up his scholarship and joined the Army. Amazing fiddle player. But I wanted to go back to that because that night was that was only the second time that him and I'd ever played together.
Really?
And
I never would have guessed that. Dude,
and those moments like that is why I continue to pursue music. There was 20 artists there that night. Everybody was extremely talented. Mm-hmm. But that night there was just that synergy between myself and Donnie, and we just fed off of it and fed off each other. And we gave the audience real, like we didn't go up there and, try to pitch anything. We just were like, hey, we're going to do what we do, and we hope you guys like it. And I think that when you can connect with an audience and show them just something real and make a moment for them to remember, that's what music's all about, is that moment that somebody will talk about for years to come and say, man, I remember when I went to this concert and saw so-and-so and they did this. Like, for guys like me, like I don't play music for any kind of fame or notoriety. I mean, those things are great when it's beneficial to you. I mean, like, it's cool and it feels good and it makes you feel good, but I genuinely just love to play music. I love to perform it. I love to write it and create it. And so that night, I mean, I still go back and watch that video of the last song every now and again, because I'm just like, wow, it's a reminder of why I do music. So anyway, if anybody wants to see any of that, you can go to my socials. I think that we put that video up, but yeah, that was such a cool, fun night.
Well, what are your social media handles? Are they all just Scooter Brown Band? Yeah,
it's all Scooter Brown Band. I think just look for the blue check mark. I mean, I think Twitter is the only one that hasn't verified me, but I don't really use Twitter that much anyway. So
I don't think like anybody does anymore.
Yeah, just the complainers and the whiners. Yep. It's like I get on there every once in a while and I'm just like, all right, this is the armpit of social media.
It really, really is.
Yeah, man. It's just like, dude, there's so much to be happy and thankful for, and it's just nonstop complaining over there. So, I mean, no offense, Twitter, whatever. But yeah, it's Scooter Brown Band. I think that some of the handles might have a BND only because Scooter Brown Band was too long, but just look it up. You'll find it.
Well, and I'm sure that you get this question all the time. And I've got an uncle and a couple of friends named Scott, and they absolutely hate being called Scooter, which makes me think that maybe the band name wasn't 100% your idea. Would I be right with that?
Yeah, 100%.
So how did that happen then?
I never was really, I don't remember ever being called Scooter growing up. Not in school or anything. And then when I got in the Marine Corps, one of my buddies called me Scooter one day, and I was like, the hell you, like, that's not my name. And it just kind of became this thing. And I used to get mad when people call me Scooter, and I actually despised it. And when I got out of the Marine Corps and I moved down to Texas with a couple of buddies, and one of the guys that taught me the guitar, that's how we kind of started the band, was just me and him playing acoustic shows. And he got us our first paying gig, and the bar was like, well, what's your band name? And he goes, Well, we don't have one. They said, well, we need to advertise and put it on the marquee, try to get people here. So can you give us something? And he said, yeah, put Scooter Brown Band on there. And so I pulled up in the parking lot and it said live. And I was so nervous pulling up because our first like actual paid gig, you know. And I pull up in the parking lot and the marquee just said live music by Scooter Brown Band. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I walked in there. He was already sitting at the bar drinking a beer and was just laughing his ass off. And I was like, man, you would do this. And we ended up packing the place out, and bars and venues started calling, asking to book. They wanted to book Scooter Brown Band, and it just kind of stuck. So, you know, now I'm a 6'3", 200 and something pound tattooed Marine named Scooter. It's awesome.
Does it bug you when people think that your real name is Scooter now?
No, not anymore. It did. I mean, it still kind of like bugs me. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it bugs me a little bit because it just doesn't seem like it should be somebody's name.
Yeah.
Like I like if I knew somebody that's actual name was Scooter, like, and I wasn't a Scot and being called Scooter myself, I feel like I would have a hard time like actually saying it to them.
That's fair.
Like, I think I would say it in a way of like a question of like, are you sure it's Scooter or is it Scott? Because I just, yeah. I mean, but now it's the brand. It's way better than Scott Brown or Scott Brown Band. I mean, that's about as bland as they come.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty generic.
That's like, I mean, no offense to anybody named John Smith, but I mean, it's pretty unoriginal. So Scooter Brown has actually helped us out a lot, because even when people haven't heard of us before, they think they have, because it's a name that sticks out or that reminds them of either Zach Brown, Cooter Brown. There's other Scooters and Browns. And so there's all these like things that are like, oh yeah, I think I've heard of you guys. And like, no, you haven't, but we'll pretend like we did. Yeah.
Well, Scott, man, let's pivot a little bit and talk about your songwriting. And actually, I guess before we get to that, let's give everybody a chance to kind of get to know your style. You know, a rock band with a country problem. I want to let everybody take a listen to a song that you put out last year. It's called "Leave It to a Woman." Give us a story behind this one and tell us what the writing process was like.
So this one is actually, so I think that the songs that you have are actually probably some more of my poppier stuff that I've done. Leave It to a Woman actually I started off writing as a joke. The first lines were like, leave it to a woman to leave the tank on E. And now I can't remember the rest of the words, but it was just kind of like, it was a little bit of like a little bit of a knock. Because my wife was always forgetting the keys, or every time I get in the car, the tank's on E and I got to go fill it up before I go anywhere. Typical stuff that all of, I think, married men deal with. And
can confirm.
Yeah. And so I was writing with some friends, and we were trying to come up with an idea in there. And I said, man, I've got this idea. What do you guys think? And so we kind of ran with it, and then it just kind of turned into like more of like a ballad to a good woman. Like, even though there's those little quirks that kind of tick you off sometimes or irritate you, like at the end of the day, like, she'll be the first one to hold you up, the first one to back you up, the first one to just, make you feel like a man. And I was actually not sure if we were going to put it out, because it is a little bit more on the pop side for us. But I've kind of gotten to a point with my music and my writing to where I think I chased kind of one thing for so long that at this point in my life, I'm like, I'm just going to write what I want. I'm going to put out what I want, and I hope that people like it. And it might be old school country. It might be rock and roll. might be pop, country, folk. So it's kind of a roller coaster seeing us live, because it's just 3 or 4 different kinds of music all in one. So yeah, Leave It to a Woman is one of my favorite songs we've done in the last few years.
Let's let everybody take a listen to it. This one is from the Scooter Brown Band. It's called
Leave It to a Woman. Leave the tank on E. Show up 20 minutes late, 'cause she was looking for the keys. Leave it to a woman. Spend an hour getting dressed. Come out looking beautiful, but still swear she's a mess. Leave it to the way she'll change your mind, because she can. The way she drives you crazy by changing your plans. And leave it to a woman to lay her heart on the line. Leave it to a woman time after time to make you whole, heal your soul by holding your hand. Leave it to a woman to make you feel like a man. Leave it to a woman to make you want a little more. Dig a little deeper, make you better than before. Leave it to a woman to see what she means. Make you feel tough, still weak in the knees. And leave it to a woman to lay her heart on the line. Leave it to a woman time after time to make you whole, heal your soul by holding your hand. Leave it to a woman to make you feel like a man. And leave it to a woman to lay her heart on the line. Leave it to a woman time after time to make you whole, heal your soul by holding your hand. Leave it to a woman to make you feel like a man. Leave it to a woman.
And that one was called Leave It to a Woman by the Scooter Brown Band. And Scott, you guys put that song out right in the middle of the pandemic last year, right in May. Was that timing intentional, or is that just kind of sort of when the song came about?
It was intentional, but it was also just a Hail Mary. When we started, 2020 just started off as a really crappy year. Our last show of 19 was at the Ryman Auditorium. We played the Grand Ole Opry at the Ryman, and 2 days later on New Year's Eve, actually it was December 30th. Our piano player, Kerrigan Shields, that had been with us for like 5 years, committed suicide. And it was pretty brutal on us because Kerrigan was such a great guy, and he dealt with depression, and we knew it. And we just, it's one of those things where you never think that somebody's actually gonna do something, and we just never thought in a million years that he would ever do something like that. And So 2020 just started off crazy, and we don't really ever tour much in January or February. So we kind of had a little bit of time to kind of grieve, but Kerrigan was such a key piece of our instrumentation live on stage. I wrote a lot of songs around his sound, and we went out in March, the very beginning of March. We went out to Colorado for 3 dates, and that was when basically the last date we did was the talk of being shut down during COVID. Like nobody showed up to the show. People were freaking scared, freaking out, you know, like, I mean, I think 7 people showed up to this show.
Oh, that's gotta be tough.
And so we were like, what is going on with all this stuff? So we get back to the house and, you know, kind of dealing with management and booking, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm thinking, all right, you know, we'll shut it down for a couple of weeks and we'll be back rolling like this ain't nothing. And then all of a sudden we had 3 months of shows cancel. And it was like, I mean, this is how we make our living, you know? So when you start doing the numbers and start adding those numbers up, you're going, how are we going to do this? Like, what's going to happen? Can we survive through this 3 months even, let alone a year and a half almost without touring? So it kind of got to a point to where I was like, we got to do something. Like, we got to be proactive. We got to like put a song out or get more involved on social media to keep relevance and just to remind people like, hey, we're still here. So we had this song done, and I threw it to our management company, and I said, what do you guys think about this one? It's totally different from anything that we've really done, but it's a really good song. Let's just see what happens. And it was a great release for us. The one thing that may not have been live music, but one thing that people continue listen to is music. I mean, they're gonna music's what gets you through a good time, through a hard time, you know. So it just felt good to put something new out to people, since there really hadn't been anything new put out in months from anybody.
Well, and it really did kind of seem like when that song came out that it came out at just the perfect time. I saw a ton of people talking about it when it came out, just on social media, mostly because, you know, I just keep track of that sort of thing. So it might've just been in my own, you know, little world, but it seemed like that song, and there was a couple of others that came out in May and June of last year that kind of helped people get out of the funk that they had been in for the last 4 to 6 months, and, you know, kind of get ready for summer. And this song kind of really, you're right, it's different than I think most of what people expect from you, but I think it came out at the right time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you know, and like I said, there wasn't really anybody putting out anything. You know, there was people were doing the live Facebook stuff, and you know, I did that. I did one on like Facebook, and I just didn't feel good about like doing a Facebook thing and putting, you know, Venmo and PayPal up. And it's to each their own. I mean, everybody's got to survive in their own way. And so I'm not knocking anybody that did that at all. Just so nobody, you know, mistakes my words. But for me, I've worked really hard at this business, and already, I mean, people pretty much get music for basically free anymore anyway. And that cost to us is still there to make the music. Mm-hmm. So like the Facebook stuff, I wasn't doing really much of it, because now I'm putting my live performance at a value of free. And it may sound dumb to some people, but it's just like, you know, if you're a house builder, like, you're going to go out and just start building houses for free just because people want you to. I was having a little bit of a hard time with that. And I know that, just picking up a guitar and singing is not a big deal. So we tried doing the ticketing, like the online ticketed events. But it's so hard to sit there and just sing in front of your phone and really want to get into it.
It's tough to manufacture that energy by yourself.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like, there's some guys that are great at it. I mean, they're just good entertainers in general. But me, I kind of am one of those people that kind of thrives off the energy in the room that I'm in. And so it was just kind of a weird time. I was bummed. I was depressed. I think I might have had a mental breakdown or two. It's like you work so hard towards something, and really 2020 was going to be a banner year for us. We were on the Fire on the Mountain tour. It was us, Charlie Daniels, and Marshall Tucker Band, and which is like when the poster came out and I saw Scooter Brown Band underneath Charlie Daniels and Marshall Tucker. I'm such a big fan of the music from the 70s that it was a dream come true for me, and to be touring with two guys I just considered to be both of them are mentors, Doug Gray from Marshall Tucker Band and Charlie Daniels. But I've been such a fan of them for as long as I can remember. And we were making really good money that year. Really the most that we've ever were anticipating. And it just all screeched to a halt. And then, to kick a horse when it's down, then Charlie passed away. So then you lose a friend and a mentor and a musical legend. But on top of that, for us as a band, we lost all those tour dates, which would have been rescheduled for 2021 or even 22, however it worked out. And that was kind of what we were hanging on, was like, man, this sucks, but guess what? You know what? We've got time to spend with our families. We're going to figure it out. God always provides. And then we're going to pick up in 21 where we left off, and it's still going to be a banner year, and it's going to be badass. And then it was just another hit, and then, so it's just like, it just feels like you just constantly get the wind knocked out of your sails, over this past year and a half. And I think just being able to actually go in a studio and create music and put it out was like probably our entire band's saving grace for our minds, because that was the one thing that seemed normal, that we could go into a studio, make music, and put it out to the people. So that's what we try to do. We went in, we cut like 8 or 9 songs. We released 3 during 2020, I believe, or 2. And then we've done 2 this year. So 4 in the past year, which for us, we normally don't do like 1 every 3 months. So, that's kind of kept me sane. With all that being said, I've also been extremely blessed by getting a break that I didn't know that I needed, and hanging with my family. Like I said, my wife and I have been married for 15 years and together 16 years. And I've got 3 girls and a little boy. And my oldest is 14 and my youngest is 7. And I've just got to spend some amazing time and get to know them better. And I wouldn't trade that for the world either.
I imagine that. Like, that's the one thing about this whole pandemic and about being stuck at home that I think goes underappreciated by a lot of people, is that we've been able to spend more time with our family, regardless of what's going on and everything else, and the stresses of money and wondering if you're going to work. Being able to spend time with your family that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise, especially to that level. Sometimes you want to bang your head against the wall after being with them, nonstop for 2 straight weeks stuck in a house. But that's,
yeah.
You always got to look at the positive side of that. And you mentioned putting out some new music, and you just released a song when we're recording this just about a week ago. But when it comes out, it'll be a couple weeks ago. But it's called Wine Drunk. Give everybody the story behind this one and how it came about.
I love wine. I used to not like wine. Wine to me was kind of was like golf. Like I didn't like golf at first, and then once I started golfing, I was like, oh man, I really like this. Wine is the same way. I started off like, where's the whiskey? And then I just began to appreciate it more. And one of my favorite things to do when I get home and get off the road is to hang out with my wife, send the kids off somewhere, grab a couple of ribeye steaks and a couple bottles of red wine, and just hang out, eat, sit on the back porch, talk with my wife, and I just love that part. I love that. And so I was talking to a friend of mine one day, and I said, I haven't heard too many people write a song, or at least on the dude's perspective, of getting wine drunk. And I'm like, but not like, backroading, beer drinking songs, but like spending time with your wife and just you and her getting wine drunk, And so he's like, dude, that's really cool. And so Adam Wood, we sat down and wrote it. And I love Adam. He's a great writer. One of the first guys I started writing with when I moved to Nashville. And I've actually been sitting on that song for probably about 4 years. But the crazy thing is we've been playing it live for at least 3. And people have been asking for it forever. And I have a bad tendency to write a song, show it to the band. The band's like, oh, that's really cool. Like during sound check. And we end up playing it as a band and then end up playing it at the show because it went really well at sound check. And then next thing you know, it's in the set forever. I'm going to try to stop doing that because people are like, oh man, I want that new song. And then you wait, then you don't give it to them for 3 years and they're kind of over it sometimes. But yeah, it's just a fun song. It's something completely different than people probably expect from us. But you know what? I like it. It's fun.
Well, I'm going to give you a chance to piss off half the West Coast after this song, but we'll let everybody take a listen to it first. This one is new music from the Scooter Brown Band. It's called Wine Drunk.
Sun coming up on a just paid Saturday morning. Boys are headed to the lake, but I ain't going. Oh, needs changing in my truck and the grass needs mowing. But I got a better idea. Well, why don't we just sit right here and get a little wine drunk, pop a cork, baby, on a hazy afternoon. Spend all day tangled up and lazy, and all night, honey, loving on you, getting wine drunk. There ain't nothing like a 2-bottle buzz at the end of a work week. I'll grab a couple glasses and meet you out back on the porch swing. 'Cause it's been too long, girl, you got me feeling all thirsty. I like red and you like white. We'll mix them up with your lips on mine and get a little wine drunk, pop a cork, baby, on a hazy afternoon. Spend all day tangled up and lazy, and all night, honey, loving on you, getting wine drunk. Whiskey makes you angry, tequila makes you crazy. Shine's too strong, beer's too weak. So baby, why don't we just get a little wine drunk, pop a cork, baby, on a hazy afternoon. Spend all day tangled up and lazy, and all night, honey, yeah, all night getting wine drunk, pop a cork, baby, on a hazy afternoon. Spent all day tangled up and lazy, and all night, honey, loving on you, getting wine drunk. We get wine drunk.
And that one is called Wine Drunk by the Scooter Brown Band. I'm hoping that we're going to hear that at Farm Jam. But Scott, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a California wine guy or a Washington wine guy?
Ooh.
This is a very hotly contested debate on the West Coast.
You know, I prefer Washington.
That's the right answer, by the way. There was a right answer, and that was it.
You know, I knew that there was a right answer, but I still gave you the truthful answer. Yeah, you know, I mean, obviously California has great wine, but there's so much California wine that I'm one of those people that, like, if I see too much of one thing or one name, I don't want it. Yeah. So I try to search out stuff that isn't normal.
Like the mainstream stuff
in the mainstream. Like there's a lot of stuff from Argentina that I like. You know, I try to branch out as much as I can on not just wine, but just everything. But yeah, I mean, if you put a glass of red wine in front of me, I'm going to drink it probably no matter where it's from. But
good man.
Yeah.
Well, Scott, man, it has been an absolute blast. We'll have to do this again in the future. I'm excited to work with you out there at Farm Jam as well.
Well, we're looking forward to playing it, and I'm just so glad that they, you know, because this was scheduled for last year, and we had high hopes that you know, they were pushing they fought till the end of trying to make it happen last year, and I'm just so glad that they ended up getting it together for this year and we're able to do it and keep a lot of the same acts, because we were really excited to come up, and we're still we're even more excited because we've had another year of anticipation for it. So it's going to be a good time.
There is a lot of excitement up here for the event. So I anticipate there being a big crowd there. But before we let you go, we end every show the same way. It's pretty much the same way that we started it. This time we call it the Final Four, just 4 questions that kind of make you think a little bit. Okay.
All right.
It's time for the Final Four.
Okay, here we go. Question number 1. What's your favorite venue that you've ever played?
Ooh, you know, if I didn't, I'm going to say 3 because it's hard to pick.
That's fair. That's fair.
One would be the Grand Ole Opry. 2 would be the Ryman. And one of my favorite venues to play is a place down in the Woodlands, Texas called Do-Si-Do. It's a listening room, about 500 people. And it's just, the crowd comes to listen. And it's an amazing, cool storytelling acoustic experience. So that's those are my top 3 right now. Red Rocks is one that I want, though.
Okay. Those are all solid. And I feel like Red Rocks has to be on the bucket list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Question number 2. Who are your 3 most recently played artists on your Spotify?
I can tell you right off the bat, Charlie Daniels. You know, I'm learning one of his songs for the Volunteer Jam at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville that I just found out about today. Nice. By the time people hear this, it'll probably have already have happened. But they asked me to fill in Charlie's shoes and sing Trudy as the opening song of the Volunteer Jam at Bridgestone Arena.
Oh, wow.
So I was actually studying. I've heard the song a million times, but I was studying the lyrics and playing it before we got on the interview. And sorry for that long answer, but that's just the truth. And then I can pretty much guarantee you that it was probably Chris Christopherson before that. And then I've had Craig Campbell's song. Oh, what is it? When I die, I want to live on the outskirts of heaven. Outskirts of heaven. Yeah. So I've been jamming that song.
Nice. Those are 3 solid ones, and congratulations on the invite to play volunteer jam. That sounds pretty badass.
It's going to be amazing.
Okay, question number 3 here. When you're out on the road, what's the one restaurant that you have to eat at if you pass it?
Oh, if we're down south, especially in Texas, I usually have to eat at a Whataburger.
Ooh, that's a good pick. I spent almost a year in Oklahoma City, and it's probably been 10 years since then, and I have not had Whataburger since I moved back home. It's the one place that I crave all the time.
It's crazy. They're actually building one in where I live, like right down the road.
Oh, nice. That's going to be dangerous, my friend.
It's the first one in Tennessee. I know, man. I try to eat good and go to the gym, and Whataburger is going to screw it all up for me.
You're saying that I took my trip to Nashville too soon.
Yeah, well, let's come back.
Okay, there you go. You convinced me. Easy enough. Okay, man. Last question of this whole thing. And take as much time to think about this as you want, or answer it right away. If you could pick one thing for people to take away from your appearance on this podcast or from your music in general, what would it be? Like I said, these ones make you think a little bit.
Yeah. Man, that I'm, as far as this music or just listening on podcasts, that, I'm just a dude that writes songs and plays guitar, and I love what I do. And I hope that other people love it too. And that I'm extremely grateful for everybody that supports us and comes out to shows and streams our music. I get to do what I do for a living, and it's something that I love because of the people that show up and support us. And I'm still very grateful to everybody that does. I'm an understander that not everybody's gonna like what I do or like the music that I play. There's a lot of stuff that I don't like, but but whether you like it or not, I love what I do, and we can still drink a beer afterwards.
There you go, man. I'm going to hold you to that at Farm Jam. But thank you again for jumping on here. I'm excited to meet you again in person out there, and have a good rest of the month.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on. Thanks for taking the time, and we're looking forward to seeing everybody out at Farm Jam.
Awesome.
Come sit up front stage.
There you go, guys. And that was another episode of the Tea Party Podcast. It's a country music podcast where you find new friends and new music like Farm Jam performer Scott Brown and the Scooter Brown Band.
Go tee off on the like button at facebook.com/Tea Party Podcast.
This has been a Tea Party Communications production. Theme music created by Jesse Quandt. Announcer voiceovers by Gwinn. And as always, hosted by Pisani.